Guys, we're over 500 subscribers. Like, honestly, I never really thought that. I mean, it feels like it was just a few months ago that I was at like 200 and something. Oh man, honestly, it was at the beginning of this year. I was at 250. So at in this 1 year, I've gained 250 subscribers. That's more than I've gained all of last year. So you guys keep it going on. Thank you for sharing my videos. Thank you for clicking on those videos, and let's get back to this work. Got the battery replaced. Anyways, today, so there's actually a few things I've done to the S10. So I learned a few things going up to the car show, driving it up there. One of the things I learned is I don't like the sound of that muffler that I have in there. The second thing is that I need to readjust, you know, not readjust my timing or idle, but basically, if you've ever heard of the Russ K idle tuning or whatever, basically I'm just gonna crank it up and let it just, you know, just idle up to temp. And I have a chart that I'm gonna record the information on. I'll copy it and paste it over to the table in the editor, which will give me my idle desired airflow. And I'm gonna do that for while it's just sitting here in park neutral, and I'm also gonna do it while it's in gear. There are two different tables. They're on the same table, but they're two different rows. So I'm gonna take care of that because I feel like it could help, because you know, I had a lot of issues with the injectors and everything when I originally did it. So, and I think I had some intake manifold leaks. So with that being the case, you know, that setting, that tune that I originally did is probably off. So what I'm gonna do is, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. And I also put in some new mufflers. Not new, but if you recall, I had put some Flowtech Raptors on the BMW at one point, and I absolutely hated the sound on the BMW. I didn't really like it. At first it sounded good, but then as the mufflers sat there for a little while, I actually got to hating them. So I originally had this muffler on here. So as you can see, it was dual inlet, dual outlet, and it has an X pipe in here. This is a True X. So it did have that, and it was nice and everything like that, but it just, I don't know, I wanted more of a muscly sound. So I went in, and don't judge me. Like I said, remember I said don't judge me, but this is how I got them fit in here right now. I mean, I still got to do turn downs, but I ran out of wire for my welder, so I'm gonna take care of that today. But like I said, as of right now, this is where they're sitting, and they're nice and solid. Let's see how they sound. Like I said, I'm not gonna be revving it though, because I gotta do that tuning. So hold on one second. Got it running. So that's what Flowtech Raptors sound like on a 5.3 liter with no caps and headers. Okay, so I got my fans turned off, so I'm hoping to let it get up to about 212 degrees. That way I you know, I get all, you know, as many of these tables filled up. I want to get all the way up to 212 filled, hopefully. But for sure, I want to make sure I have the 176 properly dialed in. And I will say that 38 seems lower than the original, or the last time I did it. I think it was at like 40 something last time I did it. So I may be getting something right here. Maybe, we'll see. Okay, so while I was doing that, I actually was getting random misfires. And there's one thing I never did, and they say that if you remove your flywheel, remove your transmission, even just remove your crankshaft position sensor, a lot of, like, if you just, you know, if it's not the same computer that was with the motor or whatnot, then you have to do a crank relearn. And some of y'all are like, some of you that are watching this are like, oh duh, you haven't done that yet? No, I actually have not done that yet. Well, I say that, but I have done that now, and it takes no time. And luckily I had spent the time warming it up, so it was already up to temp. And so then, now for those of you watching that know what I'm talking about, I'm wondering if I did it right. Now I I read on forums, I watched a video, so I went into the special features, went to the crank relearn, had it up to temp obviously, parking brake set. I held the brake pedal and I revved it up to about 4,500 RPMs, and I held there for about 4 seconds, but it never hit fuel cutoff. And so I just, after sitting there for a little bit, I just let it off, and once it got back down to idle and was stable and idle, I cut it off. I left it off for 15 seconds, and then I started it back up. And then I did it one more time just to be sure that I did get it right, and everything seems fine. The timing is still kind of weird though. Like, that's what I don't get. It's still a little crazy, but let's see if I get any random misfires. Okay, so all I have right now is the malfunction light, with indicator light, the middle light. That's because I haven't hooked it up, which I actually have something, because basically all you need is to hook up the ground to the ground and then power here, and then the computer actually completes the ground, causing the light to come on. That's really all you got to do for that. So I just haven't figured out a good place to put this. This actually came out of my shifter here, so it's working out great. Didn't cost me a damn thing. Well, I guess it cost me when I bought the shifter, but yeah, everything seems to be fine so far. Yeah, and that makes sense because I had a different computer. It didn't come from this. That computer came from a 2002, whereas that one came from, that motor's a 99. I changed the injectors. I did a lot of stuff, so it makes sense that it would need a new crank relearn. And so let's hope that actually is what it was, and we're not gonna have any more issues. But let's see here. Yep, still nothing. Still no. That's good. I was getting them by now. But as you can see, look, see my, which I need to get I really need to get a what's it called? A air fuel ratio or meter, air fuel ratio meter. That way I can actually properly tune this thing and actually log some data and actually see what's going on. Adjust my timing for 93 so I can actually see what my air fuel ratio is. But I still got to do one more thing. I still got to do the Rust K tuning in gear. So I'm gonna cut this thing off, which actually now I can rev it up though. Let's see what it sounds like. Still hanging in RPMs though. So, and now let's double check, make sure I ain't got no more, still no random misfires. Looking good. At least that's taken care of. Like, I kept thinking that I would fix it and it would just kind of like stay away for a little bit, and then yeah, it would always present itself after I turned the camera off, and I assumed that it was fixed because it wasn't there. And yeah, when I'm driving it doesn't do it, which I guess makes sense. I don't know, but yeah, like I said, I'm gonna let this thing cool down. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this thing off now. Okay, so as I said earlier, I didn't have the turn downs put on, but I also did a little work on it. I didn't like the way they were sitting. They looked kind of, well, shitty. And they still look shitty, but now they're kind of like sagging. I had to do it this way because of the emergency brake line right here. Or yeah, the emergency brake. If I tried putting it back here in line with this one, it just kept hitting it and it was just completely in the way. And so I staggered them, but yeah, the pipe runs out of that one, so they're basically almost in line. They're a little off, maybe about a couple inches, but okay. So you wondering how to do the crank relearn? All right, well, I'm gonna tell you the way I learned to do it. So you're obviously gonna want to have the engine running first. You're gonna want to put your emergency brake on, and for me, I actually held my brake, my brake pedal, and then you're going to rev up to past 4,000 RPMs and hold it for about 4 seconds. And you're waiting for the fuel cutoff, but in my particular situation, I actually didn't experience any fuel cutoff. So I just, held it there for about 4 seconds, let off, let it come back down to a steady idle, and then I turned it off for 15 seconds and let it just sit there. And then I crunk it back up, and I actually did it one more time just to be sure that I got it right. And then I shut it off for another 15 seconds, and I waited, and then I crunk it right back up. And then I drove it around let it idle, did all kind of stuff, and at no point did I ever get a random misfire ever again. So I honestly think that that was my issue from the get-go, because I probably have been having these random misfires from the beginning, and yeah, I didn't know, but now I do, and so that's why I wanted to pass along that information to you. Hopefully that solves maybe one of your issues, or leads you to possibly one of your issues. So like I said, I'll see you next time, and I'm so glad you clicked on this video. Later.